Hey, what's up? This is JuJuan Buford, founder of JSB Business Solutions Group and co-founder of Next Op Social, two business organizations that are dedicated to helping entrepreneurs with the information, insights, and technical assistance to grow from a team of me to a team of we. Of course, we do everything we can to give other business owners shout outs. We believe a rising tide lifts all ships, and that there's always information to be learned from other entrepreneurs who are leveling up. So I've always been taught and I've learned through experience that when individuals are having success, you don't spend too much time inspecting the roots. Sometimes it's just necessary to pick the fruit, right? Learn what you can learn from them, eat the fruit and spit out the seed. So what I want to talk about today focuses on a conversation I had with a accountant that I'm thinking about partnering with here in Detroit metropolitan area. Oh, and shout out Space Lab. I'm in their phone booth. So this is interesting. First time I think I've done a video in the phone booth, but I needed a little bit more quiet. There's some traffic taking place up in here. I didn't want to disrupt it. But okay. So the conversation I want to have or share is an exchange I have with an accountant that I'm partnering with here in Detroit metropolitan area. I feel like we're about 99% there on the same page in terms of values, focus, what we want to accomplish, and how we want to serve. So I feel pretty good about that. And the question she asked me was, if you're looking to level up in your client base, right? If you're looking to maybe even change audiences or your buyer persona altogether, what is the most effective means? How would you go about doing it? I thought it was fascinating because it reminded me about my initial start as an investment advisor almost 20 years ago. And I remember some of the constraints that I was dealing with. Now, different stages of our business, but still same constraints, right? So I've matriculated at the University of Michigan. I'm here in Detroit Metro. I'm working in the banking industry. And the bottom line is, despite my academic background, despite my professional background, did some work as an investment advisor in undergrad, had a lot of sales experience, some different sales positions I had taken. And once again, despite the academic pedigree, it was funny. I came back to Detroit and just a lot of people just assumed that I had money. A lot of people assumed that I was crushing it just because I attended college, right? And nothing could have been further from the truth. The bottom line is, while I may have leveled up in terms of my intellectual muscles, and I may have acquired a little bit more in the way of contacts that I had going in and coming out, I had made a critical error in judgment, right? What do we teach our kids to do? Go to school, make good grades, go out and get a good job. What we don't teach our children, when I say we, I'm speaking specifically to the African-American community. I'm not saying other communities don't do it. I just know within the African-American community, at least at the time when I was coming up, we were taught go to school, make good grades, get out a good job. We were not taught network, right? I didn't hear things like your network is your net worth until well into my professional and entrepreneurial journey, right? So I really didn't spend a lot of time, quote unquote, networking. I didn't spend a lot of time seeking out relationships with individuals who, quite frankly, were more resourced, better connected, or had skill sets or talents that I may not have had. I mean, those relationships developed kind of organically, but it was nothing purposeful about it. So I'm back here in Detroit metropolitan area working in the financial services industry, and look, the bottom line is, particularly in the financial services industry, 99.9% of the time this is going to be true. If you're sitting across from people who earn 30K per year, you're going to earn 30K per year. If you're sitting across the table from people who earn 50K per year, you're going to earn 50K, 100K, 100K, 200K, 200K. You kind of know where this goes, right? The reality of the matter is, your income is going to be commensurate with the problems that you're solving. And of course, individuals have more disposable incomes. Dogs don't bark at parked cars. They're dealing with bigger issues. If you can solve those bigger issues, you get compensated more. Well, if I were to look at my phone, my Rolodex back then, I probably only knew 5 or 6 people who were even knocking down anything close to a 6-figure income, and they were still very early in on their process, right? I couldn't go to my family members. They did not have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest with me. Very few of my family members were successful in business, that at least those who were within my reach that I knew about. It's not like I had the same network I had going into University of Michigan, the same network I had for the most part coming out, which was next to nada. Very few of those individuals were connected in that type of way and had those type of incomes, right? We're still kind of starting out. We're in our 20s, figuring things out. And those individuals who did come from wealthy backgrounds, like I said, I didn't take the time to connect with them. Huge error in judgment. So I'm basically starting from scratch. And so the advice I gave her is the same is exactly what I did in order to level up and begin to generate revenues as an investment advisor so I could take care of my family, take care of myself. And one of the first things I did is I adopted a strategy where I was at least able to identify individuals in my ecosystem who were doing well. So I remember in the banking industry, there was a couple attorneys that would come into office, large deposits, a couple politicians that would come in, large deposits. When I was first starting out as an investment advisor, I sat down and I asked myself, I said, what's my skill stack? What industries am I familiar with? Attending U of M, I knew a lot of attorneys and I understood how they thought. So I understand the thinking, the mindset. So I was very comfortable talking with attorneys. I was thinking about business owners that were heavy in cash, right? In other words, they collected a lot of cash. That's how they were compensated. And they oftentimes needed something to do with the cash. They were trying to figure it out. So that was going to be closely held businesses. To be honest, salons, barbershops, those are the industries I was familiar with. So those are the industries I started out in. I started targeting small individual practitioners in the legal industry. I had a certain acumen that I knew was of value to individuals in the medical industry. So closely held clinics, right? So typically a physician, maybe two. Maybe they had that 4 to 5 administrative support and a couple nurses, whatever the case may be. Those are the business owners I took aim at. Now here's the thing. When I say I took aim at them, I did not take aim at them in the sense of I'm calling you up, hey Jerry, hey Todd, hey Sarah, hey whoever, my name's JuJuan Buford and I'm calling to sell you some financial services products. That's not what I did. That would not have worked. The bottom line is I'm green, I'm young. People know I don't have experience. I certainly didn't have the capacity to communicate to the extent that I'm able to today. I was a talented speaker, but not nearly as refined as I may be today. And the bottom line is they knew it coming in through the door. They knew I was rough, okay? They knew I was rough around the edges. You could tell in the first 20 minutes of conversing with me, I did not necessarily come from money, right? So I had this acumen, I had this training from being the apprentice of an investment advisor who's doing well in undergrad and from the banking industry. But at the end of the day, like I said, at 20, 30 minutes, I mean, people who earn that type of income, they have certain types of problems and they know after conversing with you for a couple of moments whether or not you have the capacity to solve them, right? So this is what I did instead. I called up the individuals whom I knew owned clinics. I called up the attorneys. I called up the individuals that I wanted to work with, which is those individuals who financially were punching way above my weight class. I knew that was the only way I was going to survive. I called up the salon owners that I knew that were doing well, right? And back then, I thought doing well meant you had an expensive car and an expensive house out somewhere. I was still learning that you could be earning $250,000, $500K per year and be broke and have less cash flow than somebody working at McDonald's, right? Because if you're earning $500K and you're spending $550K, you're still broke. So I didn't realize that though, but I did know they have some disposable income, right? And I knew some of the issues, the problems they had that were unique to businesses that are compensated heavily with cash and those who don't have financial acumen. It's almost like a talk for another time, right? A conversation I could have. But what I did was I would call up Todd and I would say, look, Todd, I respect you. I appreciate you. You've had success. You're punching above a weight class above me. And I was just honest. I was transparent as all get out. I was like, look, I'm associated with John Hancock, or I am a rep with Signature Financial. And here's the thing. I want to work with individuals like you. And I need your feedback. I need to know whether or not the decision I've made to take this journey, this entrepreneurial trip, whether or not I'm heading in the right direction. And I'd really appreciate your feedback. If you were simply willing to sit down with me and give me your insight, tell me, whether or not you think what I'm doing is viable, whether or not it's plausible, whether or not you really believe this is a good move for me. And this is the thing I learned about individuals when they know they're punching well above a weight class, well above and beyond where you're at. They tend to be willing to give a hand up, not a handout, but they're willing to give a hand up. They're willing to share their perspective, advice, success principles that have served them well. Now look, there are mean, nasty people out there. Make no doubt about it. I don't believe that the majority of people are mean and nasty. I just think the mean and nasty people vibrate. Like they move a lot faster than everyone else, so we all tend to bump into them at some point in time. But the bottom line is most people, at the end of the day, if they sense that you are not looking for a handout, but rather a hand up, and you're being honest and just forthcoming with them, they'll be willing to sit down with you. And so that's what I did. Whether it was in the construction industry, whether it was factory, closely small manufacturing companies, just individuals whom I knew were accessible. Because, you got 50, 100, 200 employees. At that point, you start having bureaucracy and administration, all other fun stuff. You got to jump through a bunch of doorkeepers, quote unquote, to get to the decision maker. But if it was a closely held company, I knew the decision maker more than likely was getting in first thing in the morning and leaving late at night, which means they were accessible to me if I called. So I called up Todd. Hey, Todd, once again, look, I know you're doing very well for yourself. You're successful. I'd love the opportunity to have audience with you. I need your help. And your feedback would be invaluable. I want to work with people like you. I admire and respect what it is you've accomplished, and I just need your feedback. And so that's exactly what I would say. And the majority of people say, well, sure. You're not coming from my pocket? I mean, that's what they were really thinking. You're not coming from my pocket? You're not trying to squeeze me for money? You're not trying to take advantage of me? You're not trying, no, I'm like here to learn. I need your help. So if I had to take them out to eat, I remember I went out to eat one executive at the Detroit Athletic Club. I'm scared to death. I'd never been in there before, and there's no prices on the menus. So he's talking about meeting him at Detroit Athletic Club. I didn't know that when you remember Detroit Athletic Club, the meals are covered by your membership. I didn't know that. So I'm scared to death. I'm looking at every soup, every thing to hit the table. I'm like, oh shit. But anyway, sat down and I was able to share what I did. And I was respectful of the person's time. I didn't take 20, 30, 40 minutes trying to sell them on becoming a client of mine. I took 20, 30 minutes, not even 20, 30 minutes. I took 15, 20 minutes. I want to let them know I was respectful of their time. So I took 15 minutes basically to share my value prop. Like, this is how I want to help people. These are the outcomes I want to help people have. These are the tools of the trade. This is what I am going to do. This is going to be my approach. And that's what I did. So I kept my word. I didn't come for their pocket. I literally shared what I was doing. And I would share what I was doing, and I could read the body language. I could listen to their feedback. And 9 times out of 10, look, if you have a real value prop, if you're really helping people, if you really thought things out, people are going to give you positive feedback, and they're going to tell you that. You're going to hear it, right? They're going to nod their head and say, that's interesting. That's cool. I never thought about that, right? Those are the responses I was looking for. On the other hand, even if I was sitting in front of someone, which I did, and it didn't resonate, it didn't land because they didn't necessarily see value in it, that was also a learning opportunity for me as well. I did not get offended because that allowed me to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, well, what would have been beneficial? I would ask, what did you like best? Or I never asked what your thoughts were. Always, what did you like best? What value do you see in this? And they would tell me where I don't see value. And I would say, okay, great. Thank you for the feedback. Why? If you don't mind me inquiring, what could I do better? What would be more effective? What do you think would be of real interest to individuals like yourself? Right? So I didn't take offense. But for those individuals who did say, this is great, it's fantastic, it's wonderful, okay, great. Why? I wanted to know why. I want to know what was the thinking, what was the value prop, right? So if you're trying to punch into a new industry, if you're trying to punch above your weight class, if you're trying to go from B to C to B to B, these are important questions to ask. And so that's what I was doing. I was trying to figure out what was the value prop. What are the things that hurt them? Where's their pain points? What are the things of greatest interest to them? I want to know the carrots. I want to know the sticks, the things they were taking aim at, that they dreamed about, that they thought where they wanted to take their business, but also what were the things that were hurting them? What were the challenges they were having? And that's what I did. It was a fact-finding mission. And look, I'm not talking about one appointment. I was running 4 to 5 of these appointments per day, right? So we're talking about 20 years ago. So there was no Zoom. I was literally Zooming across town. So I did not have the luxury of time for this project to take 3-4 months. No. In a span of I feel like 30 days, I probably entered, 5 a day, 25 a week at minimum. I was at least meeting with 100, maybe 150 business owners. That's what I was doing. So I would meet one business owner and get their feedback. Now here's the thing, I'm no fool, right? If they were interested, I would definitely say, if you mind, can I follow up with you? Schedule an appointment and share more. And if they were interested, of course, 9 times out of 10, they would take the appointment. But here's the other thing I was doing. After I was done sharing the value prop, and particularly if I got positive feedback, I would ask, well, who else do you know that could benefit from what it is that I'm doing? And people tend to refer sideways or down. So that's why this is important. You got to do this with people whose weight class in terms of their financial well-being is above and beyond where you're at for this to work. You don't want to take this approach with your peers, okay? So I'm asking for referrals. Who else do you know that could benefit? Who would you like to help? Keywords, who would you like to help? Who else could benefit from this information I just shared with you? So what would end up happening is they would refer me sideline. Cool, because sideline is above where I'm at. They would refer down to people that, that looked up to them. Cool, because those people were doing better than what I was. And then if you're patient, oh man, I wish I had more time to really go deep into the strategy. I'm gonna do it anyway. So what ends up happening is they start referring people to you. Some people referred only one person to me. Some people referred 5 people to me. Some people referred 20, 30, 50. I had another accountant refer over 100 people to me, right? It was amazing. But anyway, what ends up happening is, so I would write down on a legal pad 1 through 10, literally 1 through 10. And I would write down their name on 1, or I'd write above 1. I'd write it down right in front of 1 through 10. So look, it's human nature. Once I get them to refer one person, who else do you know? What's next? Almost kind of like a game. Like, who else do you know? Who else? Who else can I help? Who else? You know this person, they know someone? I was asking questions, During the time I was conversing, I was forming them: family, occupation, recreation, motivation. So I was asking them about their family and things like that, right? A little bit of small talk, tiny bit, right? Before you really jump into it. And so I would ask them about that family member. I would ask them about the last person they went on vacation with: family, occupation, recreation, motivation. I would ask them about who their business partners were, or who their vendors were, or people whom they respected in business as well. So I was already kind of logging this stuff while I was conversing with them. And so I started getting the names and numbers. And typically, if I wrote down a list of 1 through 10, by the time I got to the 7th, they'd start to slow down a little bit. And here's the thing. When they got to the 7th and they slowed down, the reason why they slowed down 9 times out of 10 is not that they've run out of people to refer to you. Usually when they get to that 7th or 8th referral, they're starting to think about who those people are. And those people are people who are punching at their weight class or above. And when I saw that pause, I would say, who is that you're thinking about? Who's that person? And if you can get them to share that person, it will open up the floodgates. They will refer to you to people whom they look up to. I might ask them, who's your vendor? Chances are the vendor is making more money than them because they're patronizing the vendor. I would ask who their business mentors were, right? I'm trying to get the floodgates to open up, because I can get them to refer me to 1 or 2 people who are punching above their weight class. One, that means they really see value in what I'm doing. But number 2, they're going to be unfettered. So that's why I was able to get the 20 and 30 referrals. I was able to get past that pause, right? And usually, once again, that's someone whom they look up to. Maybe their pastor, maybe someone that they've done business with who is further ahead than they are, right? Usually when they start to slow down like that, that's what it is, because they're more comfortable referring sideline and downline. They really care about the opinions, perspectives. There's a little fear and anxiety. Whether the fear and anxiety is justified or not, it does not matter. The point is, it's there, right? So if you can overcome that fear and anxiety, that's when the floodgates will open. So if I was able to overcome that anxiety, then it went from a handful of referrals to 7, 10, 20, 30, right? And once again, this was high pace. Like, it's not a game. Man, people are lazy. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Okay. I listen to people today. It's like, are you kidding me? You're doing most of these appointments via Zoom, and you're making phone calls and utilizing social media. Old school, right? Once again, crossing town 5 or 6, sometimes 7, 8 times a day, hours on hours, starting at 6 a.m., buying people bagels and whatever, the coffee. And then end of the night, please don't ask to go to the steak place or, the nice wine, cigar place. Oh, because I knew I was going to be spending money, but you got to do what you got to do. Or sometimes what you do is you suggest a place so they don't send you there. But in any respect, so what I was doing was I was meeting with these individuals. I was asking for referrals. I was planting seeds to see whether or not they would be clients later on after the fact. I was going to keep my word. I came there for your feedback. I came there for your perspective. I came there to get your opinion. And I did not reach for their pockets unless they invited me to do so. And then I would set the follow-up point. But I would get those referrals. That's what I was there for. So literally in a span of 2 to 3 months, I looked up and I literally had well in excess of 1,000, closer to like 2,000 plus referrals. And literally that's exactly what transpired, because I kept that up. I kept that pace up for about 2 to 3 months. So, I mean, just think about it. How many people I'm meeting with on a weekly basis, and not everyone's giving me referrals, but most people are giving me 2, 3 referrals, sometimes 7, 8. And then if I got beyond 8, 9, and 10, that's when, once again, the floodgates will open up. And so that's how I was able to secure clients who were above my weight class. That's how I was able to level up and break into industries. That's how I was able to start working with people who had more money and more prestige and more social connections and just more of everything than I had, right? Relying on, number one, understanding that most people are people of goodwill, but also secondly, keeping my word, showing up not on time, early, being very professional as I could, as I knew how, right? But that keeping that word piece and operating with integrity and showing up on time and dressing the part, right? Showing up with enthusiasm and confidence, even when I was tired, scared, fearful, had anxiety, or or the person was rude or obnoxious, right? Pompous, arrogant. Look, man, I just ate it like Skittles. It was all good because I was there for a reason. I wasn't going to let one person deny me from 5, 10, 20 other people that probably aren't rude, nasty, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the advice I gave her. That's advice I've given so many individuals, particularly within the B2B industry or making a transition from the B2C, or individuals who will call me and say, hey, I want to break into this industry. I need to start working with people who earn more than me. Look, you lead with the value prop and you be honest and earnest in the fact that you really do need their help. You want the perspectives and opinion, and what they have to share is of value, because now being a person that's a little bit further ahead than a lot of individuals who are coming behind me, I tell you, it does feel good when individuals give me a phone call and ask me for help. I mean, what I'm sharing with you now, I mean, real talk. I was charging people $100 to $200 to sit and listen to me share the strategy. Of course, in more detail, handouts, all other fun stuff. But oftentimes now I give it away for free, what I was charging for just 5, 6 years ago. Should probably go back to it. But anyway, that is what it is. So hopefully this serves you. Everyone, I celebrate success in advance. Goodbye for now.